Ash Ketchum has just finished in the top 16 of the Indigo League, a feat not a lot of people can achieve, let alone in their first try. He truly made Pallet Town proud, so Professor Oak hosts a party to celebrate the accomplishment of one of Pallet Town's most promising trainers. Ash, Misty, Brock, their Pokemon except Charizard, Delia, Oak, and a bunch of supportive Pallet Town's folks are all having a great time until Team Rocket manages to get their hands on Pikachu. Ash commands his trusty flyer Pidgeotto to stop them, but the bird Pokemon gets injured in the process. So with all the courage he can muster, Ash switches to his uncontrollable Charizard, who instantly blasts Team Rocket off, ending in a totally chaotic Pallet Party panic. When the party's over, Professor Oak invites Achio to his lab, where he tells him that Professor Ivy, a colleague of his from Valencia Island in the Orange Archipelago, has a mysterious Pokeball whose contents she can't figure out. Ash's task is to pick up the mysterious Pokeball and bring it back to Professor Oak, since it can't be transported by the machine. Well, having the opportunity to venture to a new location, experiencing the exotic beaches of the Orange Archipelago, not to mention seeing all those amazing water Pokemon and hot chicks in bikinis, Ash, Misty, and Brock are definitely all in. As they exit Pallet Town, Ash encounters a familiar face. The very Spearow at whom he once threw rock is now fully evolved Fearow with 10 times the strength and 10 times the anger. Fearow captures Ash and Pikachu and drops them on a tree where a flock of Pidgey and Pidgeotto are too scared to fly because Fearow and his flock of Spearow are on the attack. So Ash calls his own Pidgeotto to help out and battle Fearow. This battle causes Pidgeotto to evolve into its final form, which is enough for Pidgeot to win, leading Fearow to retreat. But as long as Fearow's around, the flock of Pidgey and Pidgeotto are not totally safe, so Ash makes a tough decision to lead his Pidgeotto with them to ensure the flock's safety and freedom. Ash, Misty, and Brock soon hop on a blimp to the Orange Islands. This blimp is old and brittle, totally unsafe for flying, so after a blastful encounter with Team Rocket, they crash land straight into Valencia Island. The trio miraculously gets out of there unscathed as they walk towards Professor Ivy's lab and retrieve the mysterious Pokeball once and for all. They soon reach the lab and they're met by Professor Ivy and her 3 assistants. Instantly, Brock falls in love with Ivy and starts tirelessly helping her out just about everything. Ash is a mysterious Pokeball and it's colored gold and silver with the letters G and S inscribed on it. As Ash and Misty prepare to go back to Pallet Town, Brock decides to stay with Ivy because according to Brock, they clearly need him more than Ash and Misty do at this point. With bittersweet hearts, Ash and Misty say goodbye to Brock, and together they hop on another one of Team Rocket's blimps. The now Brockless duo is easily caged by the gang, but thanks to Jigglypuff, Team Rocket is forced to parachute away, leaving Ash and Misty asleep in a blimp with no pilot. When they regain consciousness, they find out that they crashed in the forest of Tangelo Island, still in the Orange Archipelago. Good thing they're not far from civilization as they quickly find their way to the city fronted by beautiful beaches. There they stumble across a weakened Lapras who's being abused by a bunch of gangsters. As they're trying to rescue Lapras, they encounter a guy named Tracy Sketchet, who labels himself as a Pokemon watcher, and he starts observing Ash's Pikachu. Pikachu then deals with the gangsters, but Tracy is quick to notice that Lapras needs immediate treatment and contacts Nurse Joy. In the Pokemon Center, Lapras is given proper treatment, but for Ash, an innocent glance at an Orange League poster will have changed the trajectory of this Orange Island side quest. It's a tournament where trainers aim to defeat the 4 members of the Orange crew before challenging the Supreme Gym Leader and being crowned as the Orange League champion. Ash doesn't think twice and declares that he's going to join the tournament. But Misty stops him and says that can't happen because they urgently need to deliver the GS ball to Professor Oak. So they call Professor Oak for permission, and Oak admits that it's really got no choice since there's no stopping Ash. On the other hand, seeing that Ash and Misty are well acquainted with Professor Oak, Tracy is instantly hyped because Professor Oak is his hero, so he invites himself as their 3rd traveling companion with the hopes of one day meeting Professor Oak. Not long after, Team Rocket abducts Lapras from the Pokemon Center, but Ash and friends risk their lives to save it. In the end, Lapras grows a tremendous level of trust towards Ash and decides that it wants to go travel with Ash. And this is the main gang that traverses the currents of the Orange Archipelago. Ash, Pikachu, Misty, Togepi, and Tracy, together with Lapras, who willingly serves as their ferry across the islands. Ash's first stop in the Orange Archipelago is Mekon Island, where he challenges Gym Leader Sissy for his first badge. Unlike Kanto, the gym battles in the Orange Islands aren't your standard Pokemon knockouts Pokemon type of battles. Instead, the gym leaders prepare a set of challenges for what to pass. Sissy's first challenge is shooting cans. Ash uses Squirtle against her Seadra. Both Pokemon shoot their targets at the same time, proving that they're evenly matched, so they go to moving targets. But even then, both Squirtle and Seadra are tied. To break the tie, Sissy comes up with her second gym trial, Pokemon Wave Ride, where they race through the ocean around the buoy and back to shore. The first Pokemon and trainer to cross the finish line wins the gym match. Here, Ash opts for his trusty Lapras against Sissy's Blastoise. Both Pokemon seem to be evenly matched, as well as they both knock out each other off balance. Blastoise makes a powerful move, almost knocking Ash out, but Lapras saves him. This gives Sissy the slight lead, but as they go back, a huge wave is threatening to crash on them. Lapras smartly freezes their side of the wave with Ice Beam, but Misty and Blastoise get whooshed. Ash is now in the lead, but it isn't long until Sissy passes him again. This gives Ash the idea to freeze Lapras' path so he can just glide through the ice and catch up to Sissy and Blastoise. It's a very close race to the finish line, but in the end, Ash and Lapras barely get there, earning Ash the Coral Eye badge. Next is Naval Island, where Ash challenges Gym Leader Danny for his second badge. His first challenge is to climb up top a perilous mountain without using any Pokemon. Danny effortlessly passes his own trial, but Ash is struggling, especially when Misty makes it even harder for him by cheering for Danny. Ash barely makes it, but that was just the entrance test. Now the real challenge begins, and Ash needs to win 2 out of the 3 challenges. First is a race to freeze a hot geyser. Ash uses Lapras versus Danny's Nidoqueen. Despite being an ice type, Ash's Lapras is still a baby, so Nidoqueen overpowers it and freezes the geyser first. Danny wins the first match, but Ash is fired up to win the second. The winner of this round is the first team to carve the frozen geyser into an ice sled. Ash uses Pikachu, Bulbasaur, and Charizard to carve the ice. At first, Charizard ignores Ash's commands and loafs around, but a little push causes Charizard to spew a series of flamethrowers, accidentally carving the ice sled into the perfect shape. Ash just wins this round by a fluke, but for the deciding factor, Ash and Danny, along with their Pokemon, are to race down the mountains to the beach. The first team to cross the finish line wins. For this challenge, Ash replaces Charizard with Squirtle because, well, it's just too big. He also uses Bulbasaur to see around the obstacles. Towards the end, Ash hits a giant rock, causing him to go off course, but as soon as Danny is nearing the finish line, Ash comes out of the bushes, lands beside Danny, but his sled has now lost some of its parts due to impact, and the lighter sled allows Ash to slide his way to victory, and Danny awards him the Sea Ruby badge. Next, Ash and friends visit 7 Grapefruit Island, home to some of the best tasting grapefruits in the world. However, recent events have shown that someone has been stealing all of these grapefruits from the trees. Turns out it's just a Snorlax who loves eating fruits, one that's very skilled at swimming, even being able to pull off the butterfly stroke. Or should I say, the blubberfly stroke. Ash takes matters into his own hands, and with the help of the wandering Jigglypuff, he is able to catch Snorlax to prevent further fruit depletion on the island. He's truly an agricultural hero if you think about it. Ash has been dominating the gym battles, albeit with a good amount of luck, but that's not stopping him from feeling full of himself. And that's when the trio comes across Kanto's Elite Four Lorelei, or as the dub calls her, Prima. Ash challenges Prima to a battle with Pikachu vs Cloyster. Obviously, the Elite Four trainer wins with no sweat. This humbles Ash quite a bit, but Prima tells her that he definitely has the skills to become a Pokemon master, but he has to remember to win battles and badges because of his Pokemon. As long as he's got Pokemon and friends by his side, he's bound for success. This rare encounter with a top tier trainer only fuels Ash for the future of his Orange Islands adventure. He's definitely going to need that extra ounce of motivation because his next gym battle is not only a battle of Pokemon, but also a battle of hearts. Here comes Rudy, the leader of the Trovita Island Gym. Right off the bat, Rudy feels indebted to and has developed a crush on Misty after she saves his little sister from drowning in a whirlpool. Ash challenges Rudy to a battle, but first he must undergo the entrance test. Ash's task is to shoot all the targets that appear as they ride a speedboat along the river. With the help of Pikachu, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, Ash passes the test, but now it's time for the actual challenge. It's actually a 3v3 Pokemon battle, but the twist is that instead of aiming to knock all 3 of the opponent's Pokemon, Rudy's design is to be 3 sets of 1v1s where the challenger needs to win 2 of the 3 battles. On top of that, all battles are going to be monotype, so Rudy lets Ash choose which 3 types he's going to use. Ash chooses electric, grass, and water, and the battle is set for the next day. But before that, Rudy proposes to Misty and says that she should stay with him, and therefore leave Ash and Tracy. The next day arrives, and first up is an electric shock showdown between Pikachu and Electabuzz. Unfortunately, Pikachu is taken out with a single Thunder Punch. Looking back now, Pikachu has a terrible track record against the Electabuzz line, but this battle was the catalyst of them all. Next is a battle of the grass types, and Bulbasaur settles the score by putting Executor to sleep and sending it down the cliff. Of course, the wholesome boy wouldn't let his grass homie get severely hurt, so he rescues it just in time. Finally, it's a splash of the Titans being Squirtle and Starmie. Little does Ash know that not only he's fighting for the gym badge, but he's also fighting for Misty's friendship. And what better way than for Rudy to use the same Pokemon as Misty's ace. And unlike Misty Starmie, Rudy's is a competent one, using its dance skills to evade attacks and hit super effective Thunderbolt attacks. It is at this moment when Misty yells at Ash to win, signaling to Rudy that she chose to continue traveling with Ash. But then Squirtle is backed into a corner, or in this case, over the cliff. It saves itself by learning Hydro Pump and using Skull Bash to defeat the star Pokemon. Ash wins the Spike Shell badge and the girl, and they continue their way towards Ash's 4th and final gym badge. But before that, Ash is challenged to a battle by Tad, a Pokemon trainer who also just battled Rudy and is aiming to enter the Pokemon League. Ash accepts the challenge and sends out Pikachu as Tad sends out Poliwhirl, who's crowned as the strongest Pokemon in Tad's hometown. Poliwrath is excellent at dodging attacks and finds ways to hypnotize Pikachu and knock it out with Water Gun. Ash then sends out Charizard with hopes that it will battle considering that it's got a powerful opponent. However, Charizard just ignores Ash for the entirety of the battle and does what it wants versus Poliwrath. When Poliwrath fights back with Ice Beam, Charizard freezes and the battle ends then and there. Ash quickly tries his best to free Charizard from ice, which freezes his entire body except for his burning tail. Disappointed with Ash's performance, Tad leaves but promises to have a rematch once Ash learns how to train Charizard. Ash spends the entire night warming Charizard up, rubbing his body, but now with the help of his friends. So the next day, his flame is shown to be burning brighter than ever. Charizard also learns Dragon Rage after dealing with Team Rocket, who tries to steal Pikachu. And in the rematch with Tad's Poliwrath, Charizard is shown to have fully obeyed Ash and perfected their synchronicity, allowing them to pull off powerful attacks and take the victory. Now that Ash's most powerful Pokemon has learned to obey him, Ash is truly ready to take on the 4th gym in the Kumquat Island. The gym leader is the older lady Luana, who initially mistakes him for her son, but can you really blame her? The gym battle is a double battle, the first official double battle in the show's history, and this happened way before double battles were introduced in the games. Luana calls for Alakazam and Marowak, 2 very different Pokemon, as Ash chooses his 2 strongest Pokemon, Pikachu and Charizard. In the beginning of the battle, Ash and Charizard struggle to work together, as Charizard wants to take full control of the battle. The two just end up hurting each other in the process. But when Alakazam immobilizes Charizard's sidekick, Pikachu has had enough of their petty fight and attacks Alakazam with Thunderbolt. Charizard then returns the favor because when Marowak body slams Pikachu, Charizard catches him with its wing, and it is at this moment when the two of them work together in perfect sync. In the end, Pikachu and Charizard use their opponent's attacks against them, smartly trapping Alakazam to get hit by Marowak's Boomerang, which causes Marowak to get hit by Alakazam's Hyper Beam. Both of Luana's Pokemon are declared unable to battle, and Ash is awarded the Jade Star badge. With all that being said, we say hello to Pomelo. The pinnacle of the Orange Island is finally here. Ash Ketchum is ready to take on the Supreme Gym Leader and being inducted into the Orange League Hall of Fame. The current Supreme Leader is Drake, no, not this one, an undefeated trainer who wields a mighty Dragonite. They are scheduled to engage in a 6v6 battle in this majestic Coliseum-like stadium. This is Ash's very first full 6on6 battle, so he's definitely going to have a tough time against Drake. The battle starts with Pikachu versus Ditto in a rock and water field. Ditto transforms into Pikachu, but Ash's Pikachu proves that the original always comes out on top. Drake then sends out Onix, so Ash smartly switches to Squirtle. Hydro Pump manages to connect and free the tiny turtle Pokemon, ending the battle with a Squirtle Skull Bash to the Rock Snake directly on the head. Ash takes the lead 2-0, so Drake needs to run the score even. He sends out his Gengar, so Ash recalls for Tauros, hoping for some beginner's luck. Gengar quickly gains the upper hand and lands a Confuse Ray, causing Tauros to hurt itself. This forces Ash to switch to Lapras, evading Hypnosis by diving into the water, and the battle ends with a collision of Ice Beam and Nightshade, resulting in both Pokemon fainting. This is said to be the first time that a challenger has defeated 3 of Drake's Pokemon in a row, so we know Ash isn't playing around. With that, the battlefield changes to a sandy battlefield. Drake sends out Venusaur, a league veteran who's prepared to battle Ash's Tauros. Unfortunately for Ash, Fissure doesn't work because the sandy field just absorbs all the shock. This leaves Tauros with no choice but to fight with direct contact attacks. The Bull Pokemon manages to yeet Venusaur into the air, withstand a Solar Beam, and use Takedown to score Ash's 4th win in the battle. Drake then sends out his 5th Pokemon, Electabuzz, charging up the atmosphere in the stadium. So Ash decides to go with Bulbasaur, someone fresh and who has a type advantage. Honestly, Ash has been making lots of great decisions in this battle, especially when choosing which Pokemon to send out. But despite that, Electabuzz short circuits the ball with Thunder Punch, which is a classic finishing move by Electabuzz in this saga apparently. Finally, Drake has gotten his first win. Fans are actually starting to worry for him as he's definitely the underdog at this point. Ash then sends out Charizard. Even with the type disadvantage, Charizard brute forces his way to victory like it always does. Drake is now down to his 6th and final Pokemon versus Ash's 4 freaking healthy Pokemon. What is this? Ash versus Lake Acuity battle? But worry not, Drake fans, because Drake has definitely saved the best for last. His pride and joy, the pseudo-legendary Dragonite, the very Dragonite that's infamous for using 10 different moves in this very battle. Stories about Dragonite's power have now manifested right before Ash's eyes, as he watches his Pokemon one by one succumbing to the tenacity of the Dragon Pokemon. And just like that, Ash is left with just one Pokemon as well, Pikachu. But the best efforts of Charizard scored on Tauros were not wasted because each of them managed to land some chip damage off of Dragonite, giving way for an even match between Pikachu and Dragonite. Dragonite's got the strength, but Pikachu's got other skills that he could use. When Dragonite goes for Hyper Beam, Pikachu quickly uses its tail to jump and avoid the attack. This allows Pikachu to land on Dragonite's head and unleash his most powerful Thunder attack, finally defeating the unbeatable Dragonite, ending Drake's undefeated streak, and inducting Ash and his Pokemon in the Orange League Hall of Fame. Drake congratulates Ash and calls him a great Pokemon trainer, to which Ash responds that it's because he's got great Pokemon. This is a nice callback to Prima's advice to always remember that his Pokemon are the ones who win the battle. With that, Ash Ketchum is awarded the Orange League trophy, and a picture of him and his Pokemon along with their hands and footprints are forever engraved in the Palace of Victory. After the Orange League, Ash, Misty, and Tracy head back to Pallet Town. Along the way, they come across a group of Lapras who turn out to be the family and friends of Ash's Lapras. This only means one thing: Lapras needs to go back to his family because that's where it truly belongs. It's still a baby, so it's best if it stays together with its mom for now. Ash thanks Lapras for all their memories and for taking them across the islands of the Orange Archipelago. Lapras leaves with the hopes of meeting again with Ash one day, and I think it's going to be sooner than you guys think. It isn't long until the trio reach Pallet Town. First of all, Ash and Missy are totally surprised to see that Brock is here serving as Delia's assistant instead of being on Professor Ivy's lab. Delia is very proud of his son for his grand accomplishment of winning the Orange League, and she's happy too that she's now got a new dumbbell. They then visit Professor Oak to deliver the long overdue GS ball, and of course introduce Tracy to his lifelong hero. and later Gary arrives, saving Professor Oak's lab from whatever shenanigans Team Rocket has executed. Professor Oak tells that Gary has adopted a tough training schedule, so he's definitely gotten a lot better since the Kanto League. The recently crowned Origin Champion is confident that he can beat Gary. I mean, he just defeated Drake, who's of course much stronger. Ash uses Pikachu against Gary's Eevee. Ash keeps on bragging about his Origin victory and the fact that he placed higher in the Indigo League, but Gary is totally cool and brushes off all of Ash's arrogant remarks. Pikachu goes on the offense, but Eevee makes perfect use of its defensive tactics like Reflect and Double Team, allowing it to be unfazed by whatever Pikachu dishes out. Finally, Eevee uses Skull Bash before Pikachu could even use Thunderbolt, giving Gary the well-deserved victory. Gary then leaves for the Johto region and acknowledges that Ash did a great job. This loss only humbles Ash and declares that the next time they battle, it's gonna be different. Thanks to Gary, Ash decides that he's also gonna go to the Johto region to meet and battle a new set of trainers and a new set of Pokemon he's never seen before. Tracy decides to stay and work as Professor Oak's assistant. Meanwhile, Brock is back to travel alongside them in the Johto region. And despite Professor Oak's knowledge and experience, he still couldn't figure out the mysteries behind the GS Ball, so the professor asks Ash to do another errand for him, to take the GS Ball to a veteran Pokeball designer named Kurt in Azalea Town in the Johto region. With their sights set on the Johto region, Ash, Misty, and Brock make their way to their very first stop, New Barktown, where winds of new beginnings blow.